4th, 2021 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. If any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the agenda today, there are speaker request forms to the left of the dais. Please fill out the request with the agenda number of the item you wish to speak to and hand it to the secretary. At this time, we would also like to ask that if any member of the audience has a cell phone or other electronic device, that you either turn it off or turn the ringer to silent. If you need to take a call, please step out to the hallway so the meeting is not disrupted. The public hearing on item number 1, the approval of the June 10th, 2021 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting minutes, is hereby opened. All right, Karen made the motion to approve the June 10th minutes and Haven seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 2 is a variance to reduce the rear yard setback from 25 feet to 4.8 feet and the side yard setback from 8 feet to 5 feet on property located at 1605 Sunnydale Drive. This is in order for the applicant to convert an existing garage into a duplex. Even though it's an existing building, when you change the use, the setback requirements change. When we went out and visited the site, we noted that there's a retaining wall along that north lot line close to this garage structure, and it did not have the necessary permit or engineered design plans that were required. So it would previously continue to this meeting to allow the property owner time to secure that engineered design and building permit. That's not yet been done. So they are now requesting that this item be continued to your July 22nd Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting in hopes that an engineering firm will be able to complete that work by that time. And that would be our recommendation as well.
All right, so the recommendation is to continue to July 22nd. Continue, Vince? Okay. All right, Vince made the motion to continue this to July 22nd, and Mike Kwasny seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That's the last item on our Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. I'd look for a motion to adjourn that. All right, Rachel made the motion to adjourn and Eric Hikas seconded. All those in favor of adjournment of zoning, please say aye. 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 Opposed? All right, we will now commence the Rapid City Planning Commission meeting for June 24th, 2021. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the Planning Commission agenda, please fill out a speaker request form. They're located on the table along the left wall. Hand it to the staff and we'll get you set up to speak on the item you wish to speak to. Same request on cell phones. Please turn them off or turn the ringer to silent. If you need to take a call, please step out to the hallway. Items 1 through 5 have been placed on the consent calendar today and may be approved as a group. Action will be taken on all consent items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration at this time. The findings of this planning commission are recommendations to the City Council. The City Council will make the final decision with the exception of the following items. Item 2, 21 PD 023, and item 4, 21 PD 026. The Rapid City Planning Commission's actions on these items are final unless any party appeals that decision to the Rapid City Council. All appeals must be submitted in writing to the Department of Community Development by close of business on the 7th full calendar day following action by the Planning Commission. Are there any items 1 through 5 that staff would like removed? Any items 1 through 5 that any planning commissioner would like removed for separate consideration? And are there any items 1 through 5 that any audience member would like removed for separate consideration? The chair would then entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar items 1 through 5 in accordance with staff's recommendation. All right, Eric Heikes made the motion to approve. And Vince seconded those. Any discussion on that motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6.
All right, so item number 6 is 21 PD 024. It is a final planned development overlay to expand an existing campground by adding 14 spaces. This is the KOA campground located at the intersection of Highway 44 and St. Patrick Street. So construction on this, here I'll point out where exactly the expansion is located. So this looped section right here, that's where these additional 14 spaces are going to be located. So construction has already started. The city issued a stop work order pending the approval of this final plan development overlay. So this is on a separate parcel from the rest of the campground. You can see that this parcel is outlined in yellow. This particular parcel and the rest of the campground was annexed on July 29th, 2008. It was given a zoning designation of no use. At that point, the campground had been operating up to county standards because it was outside city limits. It was rezoned to general commercial with a planned development designation on March 13th, 2009 to allow this campground to continue operating as is. The Planning Commission approved a planned commercial development on July 8th, 2010 to allow a caretaker's residence. That's what this building right here is. And it's located on the same parcel as the proposed additional 14 camp spaces. So this is currently zoned as general commercial. It's surrounded by general commercial, but you see that kind of blue squiggly line, that is zoned as public, and it is a drainage ditch. Just to the east, we have some single-family homes that are zoned as low-density residential 1. Those are located right on the other side of this driveway right here. Okay. The future land use plan classifies this as mixed-use commercial. And here you can see a better idea of where this is located. This is accessed via Highway 44 and St. Patrick Street. There's a stoplight there, and going to the north, that will take you into the campground, and then this particular parcel is accessed via internal streets within the campground. It's worth pointing out that Highway 44 and St. Patrick Street and nearby Elkvale Road are all classified as principal arterial streets on the transportation plan. So here's a site plan showing the additional 14 sites. This shows the entire parcel with the dashed lines that you see there. So this is on the north side of the parcel. So there are currently 165 existing campsites within this campground. So with the additional 14, that adds up to 179. So these additional camp spaces must be built to city standards. So the city is requiring that this be paved. As you can see here, these internal streets are being paved, but the camp spaces in between are as gravel. So one of the exceptions that's being requested is that these camp spaces be allowed to be paved by the end of the season. Here's a master plan showing the entire site. So the additional 14 spaces are down below right here. Another one of the exceptions being requested is for recreational areas. The city requires that campgrounds have a certain square footage of open space and recreational areas. So these areas that are shaded darker, those are the existing recreational areas. Since this is on a separate parcel, the recreation areas aren't going to be located on this parcel, so The exception is to allow them to be located on the other existing parcel, and there are existing adequate facilities to accommodate the additional 14 spaces. So here are some site photos. This is showing the city sign. This is looking at the construction that's already occurred on the proposed 14 spaces. So this is looking at the 14 spaces from the south, looking north. So this right here is a space, this right here is a space. This is looking west from the east end of the proposed spaces. This is looking south from the north end of the proposed spaces. This is looking east from the west end. And then this is a view of the parcel from Lancer Drive. There are 2 existing buildings on this parcel. As mentioned earlier, there's a caretaker's residence that was approved as part of a planned development. And then we have this additional building right here. There's a sign on it that says Western Trucking, but there hasn't been a trucking business there for quite some time. So this is mostly used as storage. So this is the caretaker's residence and that additional building. So this is what the existing campground looks like. As you can see, the internal streets are gravel and the camp spaces are gravel. Again, this was built to county standards and then annexed into the city, so it's considered legal non-conforming. If there were to be any expansion or development in here, it would have to be brought up to city standards. They also have a variety of other lodging options. You can rent one of these little cabins. There are also spaces where you can pitch a tent. And as I mentioned earlier, there are recreation areas like this playground. This is a laundry building. There's a restaurant in this area, and there's a shop. There's some picnic tables. There's a herb garden. There's a swimming pool. And then finally, this is the entrance off of the intersection of St. Patrick and Highway 44. So finally, the city's staff's recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Those exceptions that I mentioned earlier are among those stipulations. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them, and the applicant is also in the audience.
Thank you. I'll go to Eric Heikus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be abstaining from voting on this item.
Thanks, Eric. We have a few, I have a speaker request form on this, but we have some questions coming up from the commission, so I'll go to those. Vince?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I see that, that one slide of the one that shows the drainage area in blue? Okay, thank you.
Planning, Vicky?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to make a couple clarifications. So they are not proposing to pave the access aisles at this time, as indicated. They're asking that the access aisles and the camper spaces be allowed to be graveled. When they started that construction without the necessary plan development permit, they indicated they did not realize that that was required, and they were just going to continue with the county design standards. They want to be open. They've got reservations already lined up through the summer, so they're anxious to start allowing those tourists to come in, and we concur with that. So the stipulation that we're recommending be approved is to allow an exception that the gravel access for those 14 spaces and the camper sites themselves be allowed to remain gravel, maintained in a dust-free manner this summer season until November 1st of this year, or the end of the paving season, whichever occurs first. And then secondly, the exception to the bathhouse management office and recreational area we're also supporting that exception because the property is under the same ownership and management. You wouldn't necessarily see us do that in other instances, but with that said, and seeing the wonderful amenities that they've got, it didn't make sense that they do anything in addition on this. They are meeting the landscape requirements on this separate parcel, though. And then that large commercial building, even though it is used in part for storage, it is actually their call center. Because of the number of spaces, that's where they take reservations to keep the park flowing and filled. So overall, approved with stipulations. Just wanted to clarify, though, that we are in support of allowing them to use that gravel surfacing for this season.
All right, thank you. Rachel?
I just have one, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one question for staff. I don't have a problem with, most of this, or probably any of it, but just a clarification. It says, that this is being approved, because well, I want to make sure it's being approved predicated on the fact that the, I can't say that word, amenities. I always try to pronounce "nen" in there. The amenities are, on an adjacent lot, but they're also, owned by the same owner. If this is ever sold, and it doesn't make sense that it would be, but we have to kind of look at all avenues. If it's ever sold, is that automatically going to end, the exceptions that we're granting? Or how do we make sure that it can never be sold? And part of it can operate, without these amenities. I think you understand the question I'm asking. Okay, thank you.
Chair.
Vicki?
So you'll see in the advisories that the applicant, before he can continue the construction, needs to secure a building permit. When he comes in for that building permit, we'll have them enter into what's known as a developmental lot agreement, and that gets recorded at the Register of Deeds. So these lots can never be sold separately. They'll always be maintained under one ownership, and that will take care of that issue.
Perfect, thank you.
Haven?
I understand that. Thank you. The area in question is required to be paved here by November, is that right? Does this application, or the approval of this application, trigger any requirements for the existing area and campground?
Vicki?
It doesn't. That's an excellent question. That was annexed in. It was legal in the county. It met county design standards. And when we annex in, we see that quite often because the county doesn't require pavement for parking or access. So those fall under the status of legal nonconforming. Now, if the owners wanted to come in and expand sites within that area, any additional sites would need to be paved. If they wanted to come in and add more gravel to the existing campsites in that portion that's legal nonconforming, they would need a permit to do that, and then at that time they would need to pave it or come back before the Planning Commission, and you would have to approve that it be allowed to remain gravel.
All right, I'll ask Shane Matt to come up. I have a speaker request from Shane on this item. If you,
I decline. I mean, I can answer any questions if there's any questions.
oh, okay.
I just filled it out just in case there was any questions. Shane Matt, I'm the engineer for the client, for the owner. So I'm just here to answer questions if there were any, but I think we're fine with the stipulations as stated. So.
Thank you. If there's any questions for Shane, I'll wave at him and call him back. All right. Okay. Rachel made the motion to approve item number 6 with the stipulations as listed. And Mike Quasney seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries with Eric Heikus abstaining. All right. That's the end of the regular agenda. Discussion items or staff items today?
Well, we wanted to bring to your attention that we are having another Coffee with Planners. And it's been all over the media, but it is scheduled for July 1st. It'll be in the room next door where the mayor's office used to be. We may have to do an overflow into this room. We have 3 topics. One table will, and again, as you know, we do 3 roundtable discussions. We meet for an hour. We take about 20 minutes for each table, and then you can get up and move to the next table. So you could hit all 3 tables, or if you like the topic at one, you can just stay there for the whole hour. But our topics are going to be Transit Development Plan, and Kelly Brennan with our Transportation Long-Range Planning Division will be there to let the community know what new and exciting transportation items are coming forward. Sarah Hansel will be hosting a table for the landscape ordinance revisions. We brought that one to Coffee with Planners about a year ago. We've now researched further into what some of those recommendations that we received from that discussion, what that might look like, and we just want to bring the public in and make them a part of it because this will have far-reaching impact on the community. And then third is medical cannabis. We did have a working session with council. It was very successful. We have created a worksheet that just breaks it down where the 4 different uses would be potentially permitted, conditional, or just not allowed. That helped us understand where their preference was. And we will be bringing that same work ethic to the Coffee with Planners, trying to get to understand what the community wants. We do encourage you to attend if you can. We certainly want to see what Planning Commission thinks of this as well. And it'll be informational, explaining what the city can regulate and what we can't regulate. If we don't feel that we're getting enough one-on-one during that hour session, then we will set aside another working session, just like maybe even in this room, where we go through it with Planning Commission, similar to how we've done other working sessions, where the topic was important and far-reaching. But we encourage each of you to attend if you can. July 1st, 9 a.m.
All right.
And hey, we're serving bagels and coffee.
Man, that sounds almost like normal.
Like a coffee break
Oh,
with food.
God. That sounds great. Thanks, Vicki. I just had one item this morning. I didn't want to call him here because I didn't think he would want to show up, but Dan Seffner's retiring from Main Street Square, and we've seen a lot of outflow from, and I'll just call it shoe leather, starting with the campaign that he spearheaded to get the business improvement district downtown created. I can't say enough about what it takes energy-wise and just being willing to hear no, but not believing it, essentially. And Dan's put a lot of effort into our city, and over the last, I wouldn't want to put a number on it, 40 years. But what he's done since sort of forming the group to campaign for the business improvement district, which allowed Main Street Square to get funded, and then past that with the Legacy Commons and everything else. So if you see him downtown here, which you will, even though he's retired, I encourage you to just thank him for his service to our city. Mike?
Point well taken, because I've dealt with Dan, and he's always a professional. He holds on to the bone, but he definitely is somebody that's great to work with. So I've got a question on, we're putting a lot of buildings over on Nickel Street, off of Nickel Street, Silver area. The area that they use to dump off shrubbery, it looks like it could use some additional fencing. If I were, and I'm surprised we haven't, maybe we have looked at cleaning that up a little bit so it looks better for those residents that are going to be right behind it. Maybe how do we go about having that looked at?
Mr.
Vicki?
Chair, so that's really a topic for Public Works and potentially, if you want to stop and visit with Todd on your way out, he can let you know who at Public Works you should reach out to.
Okay, well, it seems like the developer would have already done that, and I'm just kind of surprised with the number of people that are moving into that area with all those apartments that maybe it's already been looked at. So, just thought I'd bring it up.
Okay.
Eric Heikus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just as a follow-up as to the 3 subject items for Coffee with Planners, those are 3 excellent choices. Of particular interest is the alternative transportation options that we're looking at. That's exciting. I know that's kind of Kip's world, but I think as a city is growing, that becomes a very vital part of our planning. So excited to see that as it unrolls. So I think
Chair?
I think we should all make a point to try to attend that if possible. So.
Thank you, Eric, for mentioning that. The city has been recognized for our efforts in trying to secure a bike-friendly community. And that's not to say that we're there yet, but Eric is correct. KIP has diligently worked and fought to ensure that we're considering that pedestrian bike path in all street improvements, because we do see that more and more people are accepting that as a first option for transportation. You know, those of us who have been around a while, it's difficult for us to think that we're going to go anywhere without getting in a vehicle. And we need to change that.
Yeah.
When possible, we need to use alternate transportation.
Our bus system is excellent here compared to some of the other communities I've worked in.
Right.
We worked very hard to get Billings changed to more bus-friendly, and it took a lot of work and money. So what we have here already is pretty exceptional. So I think we should celebrate it personally.
Thank you.
Yep.
Rachel?
Yeah, this is kind of a funny question. It's been a while since I've been to a Coffee with Planners, of course. And do you have any sort of like paperwork or documentation or anything like that I could see about these topics? Because I'm interested in all 3 of them before Coffee with Planners, so I could kind of review it. Is that, I mean, not review, but just look at it. Is that something that's possible?
I think that probably what will be discussed regarding landscaping and the transit development plan, I think that will be fine to sit down and go through it at the meeting. The one, though, on medical cannabis, we can certainly, and I can send out to each of you the House bill for IM 26, and it's not a difficult read. Just note that there's a lot that's in there that municipalities will not regulate, the state will. You know, we're looking at it, where should they be allowed within a zoning district? What's our separation? What's the number of these uses we want within the city? Should they be permitted? Should they be conditional? If they are permitted, what are the design standards that must be met? But it would help you to look at that House bill and see what the state's already requiring as they're going through a working session this summer and finalizing what that document's going to look like. It will give us better direction. As such, council did take action Monday night to allow the city a 6-month moratorium without having to take any action, so that we can see what the state legislature does do. Otherwise, if we adopted something with assumptions, we could just be doing a readoption in the very near future. So, yeah, if you'd like that, I can send that out. That'll probably keep you busy till July 1st.
I think I've already looked at it, and it is probably available on the Legislative Research
It's hard
Council.
to find, but yes.
Is it? Okay. But no, I appreciate that. I'm actually really more curious about the landscaping topic, but
I'll see if Sarah has anything that.
okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, if there's no further business, I'd look for a motion to adjourn. All right, Mike Kwasny raised his hand, so he's making the motion.
Second.
And Karen seconded that motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.